Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. A Southern Kentucky middle school teacher is accused of shoving a police officer and drug charges during her arrest Wednesday morning. The teacher at North Laurel Middle School is facing 4 different charges. Police say she did not cooperate with them while they were investigating the drug-related complaint on school grounds. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on the claims.
The teacher is Melissa Ann Neely. She was arrested about 9:54 on Wednesday morning, charged with numerous offenses, 4 different charges based on her alleged behavior, as well as what police say they found in her purse and in her car. A search warrant turned up pill bottles that police say contained the improper medication for a controlled substance, along with pill crushers and plates with a white powdery residue on them. They also say they found a straw with the white powder residue inside it. Police say while investigating this, Neely disobeyed the officers and continued on despite being told numerous times not to enter a hallway. That's when the officers say she pushed her way through the officer and then was put in handcuffs and arrested. Police say her actions created a hazardous and physically offensive condition that served no legitimate purpose. Neely is scheduled to be in court tomorrow morning in Laurel County District Court. We did call the jail to see if she'd like to talk to us about these offenses, but she said she did not want to. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Phil, thank you. The Laurel County Board of Education released a statement that says they take all reports of reported personnel misconduct seriously and they follow applicable district policies and procedures when responding to and investigating complaints. They also say there was never any threat to students or staff. We have the complete statement on WYMT.com. A California jury has found David DePape guilty of attacking Paul Pelosi in his home in October of last year. DePape told the court he was looking for then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi when he broke into the couple's San Francisco home. The jury found DePape guilty of assaulting the immediate family member of a federal official and of attempted kidnapping. He could face a maximum of 30 years in prison on the first charge and 20 years on the second.
We are tracking one more dry evening across the region on your Thursday as those rain chances are looming as early as tomorrow. But right now, though, from Pikeville to Hazard to London, once again, we are dry, also mild. Those temperatures in the upper 60s and lower 70s, and same story across the region, up to 70 in Jackson, 67 for Pikeville, 65 in Clintwood, and 72 over in Somerset at this hour. So once again, we stay mild and dry as we go into this evening. Up on first alert, pinpoint Doppler as high pressure continues to sit over the region. More dry weather is on the way. Clouds do increase, though, as we go into tonight, so not as cool as you wake up on Friday. Lows back in the middle to lower 50s in some areas, and some better news in terms of that drought, also those fires. We are tracking an increase in those rain chances on Friday, all thanks to a cold front. High temperatures back in the 60s, and those better chances for rain for the second half of your Friday, timing out those showers, plus another weather system by Monday and Tuesday of next week in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Israel's army chief says troops are close to destroying the Hamas military system that existed in northern Gaza. That comes as a deal for a temporary ceasefire could be near, with ongoing negotiations for the release of hostages. CBS's Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
The Israeli military says troops in Gaza recovered the body of one of the hostages seized by Hamas. Her remains found in a building near Al-Shifa Hospital. Soldiers have been combing through the hospital for 2 days and say they found a tunnel and weapons, as well as supplies in this MRI room.
There is an AK-47, there are cartridges, ammo, there are grenades in here, of course uniform, and all of this was hidden very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine.
Hamas denies the allegations. A spokesman in Qatar saying Israel's goal is to destroy Gaza's hospitals. CBS News has learned Israel is considering a proposal that includes a 3 to 5 day ceasefire in exchange for Hamas releasing kidnapped women and children. This man's grandson is among the hostages seized in the October 7th terror attack.
A kid of 4 years, for God's sake, save him. Let him go home now.
The White House says it's confident in its own intelligence. Hamas is using Gaza's biggest hospital as a command center and possibly a space to store weapons. But beyond the current crisis, President Biden says the conflict won't end until Israelis and Palestinians find a way to live side by side.
I can't tell you how long it's going to last, but I can tell you I don't think it ultimately ends until there's a two-state solution.
With the war in its 6th week, the State Department says it's in an active and ongoing conversation with Israel on how to protect civilians as it expands its military operations in Gaza. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
With fuel running low, Gaza's main telecom provider says internet and phone services have collapsed, threatening to add to the humanitarian crisis there. Elon Musk is seemingly endorsing a claim that Jewish communities push hatred against whites. He agreed with an anti-Semitic post on his social media platform X. The conspiracy theory touted in the post says Jews want to bring undocumented minority populations into Western countries to reduce white majorities. It has been espoused by online hate groups. Musk also suggested the Anti-Defamation League promotes racism against white people. Thousands of Starbucks workers at more than 200 locations across the country walked off the job today. The one-day strike came on the company's Red Cup Day, an annual promotional event when customers get free reusable cups for ordering holiday-themed drinks. Employees working at stores who have voted to unionize are calling on Starbucks to negotiate a fair contract that addresses staffing, benefits, and wage issues.
We're tired of being understaffed. Because we're a union, we don't get benefits like credit card tipping, and that's something that could help us. Why are we being denied something that's a necessity? We work all day, we're tired, we have a bunch of rushes, and we're short-staffed, and we're tired of it.
We're working really hard out here, and a lot of us can barely pay our rent. But yeah, all that for some coffee.
Starbucks opposes the unionization effort and maintains Workers United. The union representing thousands of Starbucks workers has refused to meet for contract talks for months. Members of the United Auto Workers Union have approved a labor deal with General Motors. The vote was not without drama as members at several plants voted it down. But in the end, 55% of membership voted to support the agreement, which was reached on October 30th, and that was enough to ratify the deal with GM. It looks like the government will stay open for now. After clearing the Senate last night and the House on Tuesday, the temporary plan is heading to President Biden's desk. A White House official says he plans to sign it. That does not mean the spending battle is through, though. The bill's two-tiered funding runs out just into the new year. With a shutdown averted for now, part of the deal worked out means we will not get a new farm bill until next September. Lawmakers voted to keep the current farm bill, which technically expired 2 months ago. That farm bill has been in place since 2018. Extending it means that SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, is safe in the meantime. Crop insurance programs are also protected. South Dakota Representative Dusty Johnson says it is a solution, but more work needs to be done.
The farm bill we're operating under is pretty good. It needs a few updates, particularly for reference prices, because we're in a much higher cost environment for producers than we were 5 years ago. But extending the farm bill for a year is going to give producers some predictability they need right now.
With the current farm bill, about 3/4 of the budget goes toward food assistance programs. 9% covers crop insurance, 7% covers commodities, and another 7% is for conservation. Heavy selling has driven oil prices sharply lower, marking another positive inflation development for consumers just ahead of the Thanksgiving travel rush. U.S. oil prices fell almost 6% to a low of $72.16 a barrel, the lowest level since July 7th. The sell-off continues, a sharp reversal from earlier this fall when oil prices threatened to hit $100 a barrel. Crude is now down 23% from late September. Back in May, the city of Berea went from a moist city to a wet city, meaning they were able to sell alcohol not just at restaurants or under certain conditions. Mayor Bruce Fraley says the city is home to the Berea Craft Festival, Spoonbread Festival, and other events throughout the year. Now, if the sponsor of those events or others are interested in having alcohol vendors, it's possible.
Have a microbrew or a small family farm winery that travels from town to town during festival time and serves. So those licenses are issued at the state level. In our situation, participation in a community event would be dependent on the sponsor of the event. Whoever sponsors the event, if they want to have that type of service at their event, they can have that.
While Mayor Fraley says it may not have a big impact on event attendance, it is just another amenity for folks in the city. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, asking for a raise is not easy, but you will not know the answer if you don't ask. Expert advice to help you prepare before you go into your boss's office.
Plus, we are watching out for some cooler temperatures by this weekend, also into next week. Your first alert forecast coming up.